The rumble of engines and sparks from welding torches once defined a world where craftsmanship and family collided on camera. American Chopper wasn't just a TV show, it was a cultural moment that turned a small custom bike shop into a national phenomenon. But behind the polished chrome and loud personalities were real people dealing with real consequences, personal battles, financial struggles, fractured relationships, and attempts at redemption long after the cameras stopped rolling. What follows is a closer look at the individuals who built that world, how fame reshaped their lives, and what became of them once the spotlight faded. Paul Teutul Sr. was unmistakable, the loud voice, the commanding presence, the body language that hovered somewhere between intimidation and authority. He was the face of the shop, the father figure whose moods could swing like a sledgehammer. For years, viewers saw him as the backbone of the business, the man who held everything together with grit and blunt honesty. But the image on screen didn't always match the reality behind the scenes. As the seasons rolled on and the brand expanded, the problems did too. Business decisions that once seemed bold started catching up. Court filings, lawsuits, and debts gradually chipped away at the empire. Properties that had been symbols of success became liabilities. Foreclosure notices replaced red carpets. Partners who were once allies turned into legal adversaries. Allegations of unpaid bills and unfinished contracts grew louder. The persona that once held the company together now found itself entangled in a series of financial storms that no amount of tough talk could silence. Eventually, Sr. relocated to Florida, hoping for a fresh start. A new compound, a museum, a roadhouse, attempts to revive the brand's energy. But rebuilding trust proved harder than rebuilding bikes. The legacy remained, but the stability had long dissolved. Even today he still films online content, still builds, still promotes the image of the rugged craftsman. Yet behind the sunglasses and bravado lies a story of a man whose empire rose quickly and fell just as hard. On the opposite end of that storm was Paul Teutul Jr., the designer whose vision shaped some of the shop's most iconic motorcycles. Jr. brought creativity, precision, and an artistic intuition that elevated custom bikes into rolling sculptures. His designs weren't just functional, they were emotional, symbolic, a combination that turned viewers into fans and fans into loyal followers. But artistic passion clashed with Sr.'s rigid leadership style, and their relationship became the central drama of the show. Arguments exploded, tools were thrown, doors slammed, and eventually, Jr. was fired on camera in a moment that stunned the audience. It wasn't just a fight, it was years of tension crystallizing into one unforgettable breaking point. What followed was a chain of legal complexities. Ownership rights, valuation disputes, board meetings, dissolutions of partnerships, a tangle of bureaucracy layered over a fractured family dynamic. In some instances, rulings favored Jr., in others, they didn't. The victories were partial, the losses were personal. But Jr. wasn't done. He rebuilt his identity through his own shop, his own brand, and his own vision. Commissioned builds for Fortune 500 companies, appearances on different programs, and his steady presence at bike shows helped him find a more sustainable path. His new chapter was less chaotic and more focused. The drama faded, the work continued. Yet the shadow of the past still lingered, as lawsuits and financial pressures occasionally resurfaced. Then there was Mikey Teutul, the heart of the show, the comic relief, the easygoing brother who diffused tension with jokes, awkward charm, and genuine warmth. His presence was necessary, especially during moments when the family dynamic became too intense for even the audience to handle. But Mikey's public persona masked his private struggles. Behind the scenes, he battled addiction, drifting into a cycle that strained relationships and tested patience. Eventually, the family had to confront the consequences, leading to estrangement and difficult conversations. His departure from the business marked a dark period filled with instability, financial turmoil, and emotional challenges. One particularly heavy blow was a copyright lawsuit, which amplified already existing stress and left him navigating legal and financial trouble largely on his own. But Mikey's journey didn't end there. Recovery led him down a different road, one filled with small but meaningful pursuits. He explored art, opened a gallery, experimented with small businesses, and even created a line of pasta sauces. None of it carried the glamour of TV fame, but it offered grounding, purpose, and dignity. Mikey reinvented himself not through spectacle, but through small, steady steps toward rebuilding his life. Another key figure was Vinnie D. Martino, the craftsman whose calm presence balanced the louder voices around him. Vinnie wasn't interested in theatrics, he cared about the work, the mechanics, and the integrity of each build. His skill wasn't loud, but it was essential. Eventually, the show's escalating drama began clashing with his desire to focus on the craft itself. He made the difficult decision to leave. Sr.'s public remark, "Everyone's replaceable," stung, but Vinnie didn't engage with the narrative. Instead, he quietly built a new chapter. He opened his own shop, and for a time, the industry gave him another chance at televised success. But when the recession hit, the luxury custom bike market crumbled. Faced with economic reality, Vinnie pivoted. He closed the custom shop and opened a local automotive garage, a practical business built on steady work rather than flashy builds. His story wasn't glamorous, but it was deeply human, choosing family stability and financial sense over fame. Rick Petko embodied another kind of sacrifice: the long commutes, the steady hands, the loyal work ethic. Rick spent countless hours on the road just to show up and deliver high-quality craftwork day after day. His calm demeanor and consistent skill made him a fan favorite, even though he never sought the spotlight. But living far from the shop took a toll. Lost time with loved ones, exhaustion, and the emotional strain of participating in a show filled with conflict eventually pushed Rick to step away. Without cameras documenting his every move, he began focusing on his own passions: metalwork, custom blades, woodworking, and jewelry. Today, he creates by hand, at his own pace, with his family close by. His departure from the show wasn't an ending but a recalibration of what mattered most. Cody Connelly's journey carried a different weight altogether. Discovered young, mentored by industry veterans, and introduced to television before adulthood, Cody's life was shaped by fame before he fully understood it. To millions of viewers, he was the gifted young builder with enormous potential. But fame came with complications. When Cody left the company, he soon realized his image, likeness, and even a signature build were still being marketed. This led to a lawsuit claiming he hadn't been paid properly for the use of his work and image. The matter reached a settlement, but the legal battle left emotional scars. After it ended, Cody stepped out of the public eye entirely. He found refuge in a different line of work: excavation, demolition, and operating heavy equipment. Far from the cameras, he built a new kind of stability. Married with a daughter, Cody's life today is grounded, humble, and private, a clear choice after experiencing fame's harsh spotlight at a young age. Jason Pohl brought a different skill set to the team: digital artistry, creative flair, and modern design tools that pushed the shop's aesthetic into new territory. His concepts were bold and imaginative, but they weren't always welcomed. Traditionalists sometimes dismissed computer-designed bikes as unrealistic. Critics online questioned his abilities or accused him of ego. And on-screen, moments of public criticism, especially from Sr., made Jason visibly wilt. Still, Jason's talent was real, and his passion was sincere. He eventually left the hostile environment and redirected his abilities into the broader world of industrial design. Working with advanced CAD programs, representing engineering software brands, and collaborating with companies outside the motorcycle world gave him space to grow unencumbered by drama. He proved that innovation thrives outside the confines of a reality show. Other craftsmen like Nick Hansford and Christian Welter contributed immensely without ever becoming embroiled in turmoil. They worked hard, learned the trade, and transitioned to new opportunities with minimal fuss. Their stories didn't involve lawsuits, breakups, or dramatic departures. Instead, they represent the reality that for many people, work is just work, something steady, something reliable, something divorced from fame. Daniel Teutul, the brother who remained mostly behind the scenes, played a different role entirely. He handled the ironworks, the fabrication infrastructure, and the business logistics. When investigations later accused the company of improper asset transfer or financial mismanagement, Daniel found himself facing legal repercussions. Fines were issued, reputations dented. But Daniel chose a different reaction than some of his brothers. He rebuilt. He founded a new company, expanded operations, and created steady employment for dozens of workers. His path wasn't glamorized or televised, but it was productive and grounded. In his low-profile way, Daniel demonstrated that rebuilding is possible through quiet consistency rather than public reinvention. Across all their stories, a few lessons emerge. Reality TV thrives on conflict, not sustainability. Fame magnifies strengths and weaknesses, sometimes masking financial cracks until it's too late. Resilience takes many forms, some rebuild publicly, others quietly, and some walk away entirely. And in the end, fame is fleeting, but the consequences of business decisions, family turmoil, and personal struggles are long-lasting. Today, with the cameras off and the noise quieted, their lives look different. Some build quietly in small shops. Some run businesses far removed from motorcycles. Some remain in the public eye, while others live almost entirely out of it. But what ties their journeys together is the human reality beneath the television storyline. Behind every argument, every build, and every episode was a person trying to navigate pressure, expectations, and the weight of public scrutiny. The bikes they created were beautiful, but the personal costs were real. And as their individual paths continue forward, one truth becomes clear: the machines may have been the reason people tuned in, but the people behind those machines experienced transformations far more significant than anything captured on camera.